每一只鸽子好胖，吃的好好。这边有只海鸥，这边是海鸟，它叫江乐神，这只叫江乐神，好回，鸟都好回，好回的那只，你看白色那只好回哦，好回哦，哎呦，好回的呢，好回。哇，这只也很肥，妈的，每一只都好肥，每一只都被喂得饱饱的。这个叫 Jonathan，Jonathan， 你认得他吗 ？Jonathan 的 Seagull。
这是哪里？
这哪里？
这是 Pioneer
Pioneer Square， 这个 Pioneer Building 在往后面，很老的 building。
真的很老。
你看这个是印第安人的 totem， totem pole， 木头的。
这个树好漂亮。呀。
这是个地标。
我们真 lucky， 本来说要下雨下雪，结果都没有。
就稍微飘一点点冰雪、冰雨而已。
我们真的很幸运，我们今年很幸运，什么都很幸运，买家具也很幸运，都买到便宜货。来玩也碰到好天气，
居然出太阳了。
他们很难得说不下雨的，我们这2天刚好把加州阳光带来。
看那个 Chief Seattle 的雕像。那故事就是有个计程车司机每天经过这里，就觉得他妈上面有铜绿很丑，就哪一天拿2瓶盐酸就把它倒下去。
结果他重新弄过了啦。
他是重新弄过了，这已经20几年前的事情。
怎么变那么小啊？弄得太小了吧？
它本来就很小，本来就不大一个景。
哦，真的吗？
本来就不大。所以现在知道它是 Squamish， 它是 Squamish 族的酋长，所以不知道他到底是把西雅图这块地卖给白人呢，还是怎么样，搞不太清楚。
还是给白人。
至少他是签约的那个人呢，签 treaty 的那个人 ，treaty 1855年签的，他1866年死掉的。
签完以后11年死掉。
他签约的时候是比我们出生的早100年。
1865年。
你看像不像东方人？
像。
像蒙古人。
像。
那鼻子很骨感，对不对？颧骨也很高，这个。
做这个做得很像哎。
那你认得他吗？没人知道，哪知道很像？
不是啦，
很像东方人。
不是，我说做得很传神呐。我说做这个人这个。
哇塞，这只鸽子一直绕着我们走。
我不认识他，但是我说他很传神，看起来好像。
哇塞，你看每一只鸽子都肥，你看每一只都好肥哦！我靠。
你们不怕得心脏病哦？
他妈吃面包吃多了还是什么？
飞不起来了。真的好肥哦。烤乳鸽，看到烤肥鸽，人家肥鹅。
你看，还飞得动呢。
肥鸽哎。
每一只都肥鸽。
真的。这个可以吃吗？
当然可以了，都可以吃。
像养鸡一样，对不对？
这是 Pioneer Building， 这是地标，西雅图的地标。老死了，恐怕。这恐怕他没办法，不能那个，不准你那个。
这是政府的。
Maps， 哎，这个我们需要一个 Maps。我们需要一个 Maps。大红灯笼高高挂，是大红灯笼高高挂，旁边这个也是个地标了，白色这个是个地标。
这什么 building？ 这是
搞不清楚
还是办公室？
好像是办公室。这个咖啡色的，好像黑色的，好像就是 Columbia Building。我刚刚看到照片，你就可以上去看了。
好高哦！这
那这样
楼上有
我是不是应该走过去就好了？等一下，这边等一下去逛一下，现在看看，这是最老的餐厅，西雅图最老的餐厅。你看这个，这是西雅图最老的餐厅。
这是咖啡店嘞，这很老嘞。
Established。
你看它上面的瓷砖。
1890年，可以写了。很美味。
这以前有人住啊？不会吧？
有啊，有人住这个，看这床板，是他们的收音线。你看，这收音machine。
Across the street right over here where it says stoves. We walked on down here and then we came down this way. We were walking at the level that the awnings are right here in this picture. We then went down the stairs and we're standing right on this original sidewalk level right over here, right? The current sidewalk level is above our heads. Stoves, that was the middle of the street that we crossed. Now, we know that this is a picture from before the Great Seattle Fire. We can identify that because all the buildings are made out of
wood.
Nice job, class. Now, after the fire, we can identify a picture from after the fire when all the buildings are gone. Buildings are gone after the fire. And then they get rebuilt in that brick, stone, steel, and iron that you see around you. This over here is the Northern Hotel. That was an entrance to the Northern Hotel. Those are windows on the Northern Hotel. Nobody puts windows in a basement. Right? A basement insinuates something was dug out from the ground. Right? This was the original ground floor. Those are the new sidewalks above your head that you guys were just walking on top of. This is the street raised up over here. Before we talk about all that rebuilding, we must burn this city to the ground. You guys ready? Affirmative response is required. Great. June 6th, 1889. About 3 blocks north of here, there's a cabinet making shop on 1st and Madison Street. Within this cabinet making shop, there is a young man. He is 19 years old. You guys hear that? Yeah. Don't worry, it's just a gas leak. It's fine. A functioning steam system down here. 200 buildings in the area still use steam for heat. So occasionally that will make noise at us as we go. Anyway, cabinet making shop, 19-year-old man. His name is Jan Bach. He is an apprentice within the shop. An apprentice is basically an unpaid intern, right? He's learning how to become a cabinet maker. And his one job for the day is to make glue. Back then, glue did not come in a handy liquid squeeze bottle. It was a solid block of rendered animal fat, collagen, hide, all kinds of nasty stuff that you would actually put inside of an iron cauldron and melt it down over an open flame. Sounds really safe, right? Yeah. It's actually fine as long as you watch it, right? That would melt down, hit a liquid boiling point, and then you could stick two things together like it's a hot glue gun. Everybody following me at this point? Mm-hmm. Great. Jan Bach, he gets distracted. He walks away, turns back around and realizes, oh no, that glue has boiled over the sides, and it has caught fire. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a sticky situation on our hands over here.
Sticky.
If you think that's one of the worst jokes on the tour, I'm sorry. This is not just any fire. It is a grease fire. It is a great fire, but it's a great fire because it's a grease fire. And then it becomes the great fire when Jan Bach does the one thing that you're not supposed to do to a grease fire. That's right, takes the largest bucket of water he can find and splashes that flaming pot of grease. You now have flaming bits of glue flying all over an 1889 cabinet making shop. Think about that for a second. That's wood shavings all over the floor and everything is covered in oil-based paint. That's right, 1889, oil-based paint. So that's burning up real fast, and then the fire would move next door to a warehouse. And in the warehouse, they had just received a shipment. 500 casks of aged Irish whiskey.
Oh, shame, 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 shame.
Shame. That's right. We bow our heads for the departed spirits.
Spirits, yes.
There was a nun on my last tour. That joke was kind of awkward. The cries and wails of the citizens of Seattle could be heard for miles, and this alerted our volunteer fire crew. Yes, all volunteers because their leader, Josiah Collins, he was gone. He was in San Francisco attending a convention learning how to better fight fires in metropolitan areas. Yeah, so our firefighters don't know what to do. There are 7 of them. They're all volunteers. They all plug into the same exact fire hydrant. What does that mean? 0 water pressure after about 10 minutes. They're doing a terrible job fighting the fire. So are Seattle citizens. We begin to encourage them, right? We want to cheer them on by booing and heckling them. It's the same strategy that works so well with the Mariners every season. So, the town is burning. It's raging, right? The conditions are not helping. Guys, it was a drought in Seattle. We had not seen rain in 2 full days.
No way.
Crazy.
No way.
So, raging throughout the town, we got high winds coming in off the sound, 72 degrees, right? This is June 6th, 1889. It's pretty hot and dry here. So, the fire finally reaches the piece de resistance, the hardware store. A hardware store in 1889 was not your average Home Depot. Of course, they would carry lumber, hammers, nails, ladders, things that could burn. But also, you could buy at a hardware store on the frontier in 1889 dynamite, shotgun shells, and gunpowder.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, our fire has now consumed way too much whiskey, has armed itself, and is shooting back at the firefighters, who find this a very convenient time to march right on up this hill. They watch the entire downtown business district burn. 33 square blocks. Took 11 and a half hours before that fire just burned itself out. Nobody put it out, it ran out of wood. So from Pike Place Market all the way down to Safeco Field and First Avenue back to 4th, everything is burned flat to the ground. We used to have rivers of intersecting oatmeal. Now we have a giant muddy poopy pancake. That was for you. Yeah. Giant muddy poopy pancake. It's fun to say. It also gives you a good visual, right? Everything is burned flat to the ground beneath your feet, and then all the rebuilding happens after the fire. Right? A couple other cool things I want to point out in this picture. Right? It's from before the fire. We still have our exploding crappers. That's a young man being blown off his toilet right over here. We lost a lot of good kids that way. Very sad. So, over here, also, we got a ghost. Right? That's where we're standing. It's not actually a ghost. It's just the only female in the picture. Right? Everybody else shows up clear because they were standing still. If you're moving when a picture was taken back in the day, not actually a ghost, just somebody who's moving. You'd show up blurry because the exposure was so long. Today, we go click, click. Back then, it was click, wait 45 seconds, or a minute and a half if it's dark. Click, right? If you move at all during that time, you show up blurry. So, she is either wasn't told that the picture was being taken, she's moving when everyone else is posing, or they're all staring at her, standing still, 25 confirmed men, and she is running for her life. As I said in early Seattle, if you're a young woman looking for a husband, the odds were good, but the goods were quite odd. Yes. Now, beneath your feet you have the original sidewalk level. Over here, this was all rebuilt after the fire, the Northern Hotel. They eventually also built these sidewalks over your head, and then, well, really all this happened at the same time. We'll talk about the rebuilding in the next section. I have a really good visual that helps me tell that story. So if you guys would all continue with me this way, we're also going to pass underneath that purple skylight, right? That's what that was. It's not just purple glass on the ground, it's the skylight meant to let natural light down into the underground. So we're going to pass right on through that. The first one that you see is in a narrow hallway. Not good for pictures because then you're in everybody's way. Great. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go to the corner room and take lots of pictures of that one. Guys, come with me this way.
Purple glass, purple glass.
Into the marketing budget for this year.
他以前就有偷的。
就是啊，他就是从英国带来的，Mr. Quacker 才带来的。码头。
Right, guys, welcome back to the underground. You may have noticed that the floor there. Right, nobody puts windows in a basement. This should all be review at this point. How are we all feeling? Good. Now, how do we pay for all this? Taxes, naturally. How do we raise taxes? We study the population. And in a frontier logging town, there are certain things you expect. Like I detailed before, right, we had lots and lots of dudes and not a whole lot of ladies. Right? Our German tourists like to call this a sausage fest. Now, in early Seattle, most of those dudes, they were working at the docks, at the sawmill, at the lumber yards. They're making a pretty average $20 a month. We expected all of this. What we did not expect to find in our frontier logging town was a large concentration of young single women that were all living and working within the same 3-block radius in the scandalous Skid Road neighborhood, making exorbitant amounts of money. That's right, I said exorbitant amounts of money. And they all claimed that their occupation was seamstress or independent garment worker. In a frontier logging town such as this, does anyone believe there is a high enough demand for fashionable items such to warrant paying our seamstresses 40 to 50 times what their counterparts in New York City would have been making at the time? No. Something strange is afoot in downtown Seattle. So our brave mayor, he stood up at the time, he said, "Citizens, I volunteer to investigate this very curious sewing matter personally. I know it will take many nights of exhaustive research, late night meetings, all night meetings. I may even have to go undercover, but I am up for the task." And that brave man, he came back to us 2 weeks later. He said, "Citizens, I am so sorry. I have failed you. For I went through the entire booming garment district, and I was unable to locate not one single sewing machine. But that's okay, I assure you, our seamstresses are doing their best work by hand." That's right. You guys are here all week. Tip your waitress. Tip your tour guide. Try the veal. It's pretty good. So, in our frontier logging town, we had a sewing issue. This is a PG-13 tour. Do you know what a euphemism is yet? Perfect response. Guys, we have a sewing issue in downtown Seattle. We either need to ban the practice altogether or we can tax and regulate it. To Washington State, we tax and regulate. This is what we do. The cost of doing business was $10 per seamstress per month. Right? This actually would have been a bribe proposed by the seamstresses because they were making $300 to $400 every single week. They wanted to pay this so they could keep their lucrative private practices wide open for business. Now, all of that money is coming in the overall sin tax. A sin tax, then when added together, you got a little bit of liquor, a little bit of gambling, a bit of sewing. It's like a nice Friday night here in Seattle. Yeah. So, you take that all, you add it up, it turns out to be 87% of our city's tax revenue in the years following the fire. 87%. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wild West. We've always been very supportive of the arts here in Seattle, and we're very proud of that. Yeah. So all that money going into the political system, it comes along with a certain amount of influence. And the most influential amongst our seamstresses, her name was Madame Lou Graham. Everyone say that with me. Madame Lou Graham. Madame Lou ran the best little sewing circle in all of Seattle. This was a top hat establishment. In order to walk in there, you had to have enough money to own a silk top hat. And they say that more business was done in Madame Lou's parlor than in City Hall, which conveniently was located right across the street. Several mayors tried to run Madame Lou out of town, right? They wanted to get her out of here. They're trying to show that they're tough on crime. Madame Lou has them all impeached, all 3 of them, within days. Right? She had money in everyone's pocket. She was not just the richest woman in Washington State, she was the richest person in Washington State. Right? Madame Lou had a couple of really interesting policies. Right? She ran a top hat establishment, which meant that she ran things a little more progressively than, let's say, the other houses of negotiable affections at the time. Right? Madame Lou has a policy where, in addition to an excellent education in sewing technique, her girls would learn how to read, write, speak more than one language, play a musical instrument, and they stayed up on current events, all paid for by Madame Lou Graham. Right? This made them more valuable, theoretically, and also made them some of the most eligible bachelorettes in the entire city of Seattle. These are independent women, they are well educated, and they already know how to sew. That's great. So they were expected to be married off to one of their top clients within 2 years of starting service and live a life of luxury. Not so bad. Now, Madame Lu also had a policy in place to protect her girls. Let's say a client comes in, wants a button sewn on in a particular place, and a seamstress does not want to sew that button onto that client. She does not have to. It's one of the first times in recorded history we see an amount of consent involved in this profession. So we're very proud of Madame Lu Graham, very proud of what she accomplished. Also very sad when she passed away due to an occupational hazard. That's right, kids, very important. If you choose to sew today, wear a thimble every single time. Madame Lu passes away due to an occupational hazard and leaves her entire fortune to what eventually became the Seattle public school system. Whoa. That's $8.5 million in today's money. Single largest donation to any school system in the state until Bill Gates came along. Yeah, pretty awesome. Guess how many schools are named after Madame Lu Graham? 0. That's right. Yesler and Denny, all their corruption antics bankrupting the town several times over. They have streets and parks and schools and everything named after them. But Madame Lu, who was truly a business leader in this town, providing jobs for thousands, right? She gets nothing. And in the aftermath of the fire, it was not Yesler or Denny, it was Madame Lu, who in the banks did not have confidence that Seattle would come back business-wise. She was personally financing business loans so that people could start construction after the fire. And some say she was responsible for erection all over town. Guys, thank you so much. No further questions here. If you have any, please ask your parents. Yeah, we're going to move right along. Guys, a couple cool pictures in here before we get on with it. Also, if you liked that stuff, please take our Underworld tour. This was me holding back very much, right? So the Underworld tour, that's the adult tour that comes with a drink and 0 euphemisms. That goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, 7 and 8 o'clock. It's a lot of fun. Right? Rivers of intersecting oatmeal, giant muddy poopy pancake. This is a picture from after the fire. You have iron rail lines that are warped from all the heat from the flames. Also, a very hot item in this picture, Seattle's first male model. Striking the Captain Morgan pose right here. Guys, we've got an original crapper toilet right through here for your viewing pleasure. And then, join me at the back of the room. Because in the back of the room I have a circular couch. The circular couch is filled with non-historic yellow foam. It is not a historic item. It's one of the only things that have been placed down here in the underground. Everything else we found down here. Right? We don't pay money just to make things look old. We're way too cheap for that. So, that circular couch filled with non-historic yellow foam is a prop from the film Coal Shack, the Night Strangler. Ooh. Yeah, filmed down here in 1972. Eerily, it's a horror film. And it begins with a tour. Much like this one. Yes. Back here, on the wall, just painted right into the plaster, we have a Victorian-style fresco. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Who needs the Sistine Chapel when you got all this? It's beautiful, right? You guys are going to follow me right on out the door over here. We're leaving the building. This was the corn building, and this was a general store. So that was the retail counter where you could buy things over there, right? So we're going to exit the building out that side entrance that we saw in the window. We're going to walk around the block, and we're going to talk about the sidewalks in the next section, as well as how the underground got sealed up. So please, you guys are going to follow me out this way. Just stay with the end of the group. You guys can take as much pictures, or as many pictures, as much video as you'd like. Any questions? Nah? Let's keep on going. Yeah, so, I mean, they would build fireplaces and things like that. It would all stick around from, you don't need to pull it out of the underground. You're just going to have to paint it and throw it away anyway, right? That's the idea. If you guys could just move a little bit further that way, that is a garage door. It does open. So it's like not safe and full of garbage, but we know what's down there, right? It goes all the way from San Diego Field. If you go up to Pike Place Market, you'll see purple glass in the ground.